What are the chances of a hive surviving one whole year without the help of a beekeeper? I would say the chances are 50-50. And that's because today we have so many more pests and diseases that bees face that they didn't face a long time ago, that they really do need and benefit from the help of the beekeeper. So I'm going to say 50-50. I mean, you can do your own experiment. The bad thing about that is, even if they do good, in your eyes, you might think, oh, look, my bees lived and made it through the winter. But on the other hand, if you're not inspecting them and looking for the varroa destructor mites or small hive beetle or wax moth or other pathogens and pests that bees pick up, it can start to snowball and take the bees out. And so it's really a coin toss on whether or not that's going to happen. Now, some people are going to leave a comment saying, I've had bees in a tree or my house or a beehive over there for thousands of years and they're great, and man has just ruined beekeeping. You know, there's that side of the fence that people talk about. But all in all, in my experience and the science that I read and study and talking to even old-time beekeepers, it's important for beekeepers to get in there and assist our bees, you know, to help our bees do good. And we can, I think you can get in there too much. I think you can micromanage your bees. But I think on the other hand, watching them, inspecting them, and helping them out is going to be a big help. Do I give my frozen drone board back to my bees to clean out? Now, this is talking about the green drone comb for mite control. I've made a few videos recently about that, showed how to do it. And you can do it both ways. You can just rip off all the comb and the dead frozen drones, or if you want to, you can put it back in there and let them clean it up. It really doesn't matter, except personally, I don't want my bees to have to build all that comb again, so I just let them clean it up. Can hive location cause a swarm, or would they abscond if they didn't like it? They could abscond if they didn't like it. If there's an irritant, a terrible noise, a terrible intruder of some sort, I can see the bees all leaving. I don't think it's going to cause them to swarm. Swarm and absconding are two different things. A swarm is when they get overcrowded or they want to reproduce and make a new hive. Absconding is when they all just leave because it's just too bad to stay there. We've got a wild colony that returned to our old hive. Also, we have another wild colony to get from another location about 10 miles away. How do I space two hives? You know, that's a big time question. I think most of us feel like putting them close together, like behind me here, is to benefit the beekeeper, but keeping them further away does give some mite control, so your bees aren't drifting and spreading mites. So it's kind of a coin toss on that one. When raising queens, what's to keep the hive from swarming after queen cells are capped? Because there's no queen in there. You're putting your queen cells in the finishing hive above a queen excluder, right? And so there's no queen up there, and your hive is being controlled by the queen mandibular pheromone of the queen below the queen excluder in the double deep hive. How do I fix fat extended comb on the corners of my brood frames, drawing out foundation, and the bees are drawing out comb into the undrawn frame? So I understand exactly what you're talking about. One frame can get pulled out really big and fat, which makes it go and take up too much space in the undrawn frame over here, so they never do draw it out correctly. And the only thing you can do, I think, with that is to take a knife, a big bread knife, and keep shaving back that comb to keep it to the right size. Hi, David. I'm doing a couple of walkaway splits. Any reason to check them before 30 days or so? Better to leave uninterrupted. If you do a walkaway split, I'd inspect them about a couple of weeks after that. Make sure I got a queen in there. Everything's good. Don't wait too long. I wouldn't wait 30 days. David, can you use a dry Bee Pro feeder with supers on? I don't see why not, because with supers, you're not collecting pollen. The Bee Pro feeder is a pollen substitute feeder, so it wouldn't be getting any of that into the hive or into the super, so I wouldn't worry about that. Is it common at this time of the year for a hive to get robbed out due to inspecting another hive 6 feet away? Had this happen, South Carolina. It's not uncommon, you know, sometimes bees do that. You might be experiencing a little bit of a dearth. Maybe nectar flows are waning in your area and they're just seeing an ample supply of honey right next to them. Yeah, you might want to always take some burlap with you, and that burlap you can lay over open supers. I've made videos on using big sheets of burlap to cover up a honey super you pulled off, another box you have open to keep robbers out. Certainly keep a lid on any open boxes. Going into my nectar flow, Massachusetts, 2 frames drawn out in the super heavily waxed, but I'm going away for 2 weeks. Should I add a second super? I think so. Yeah, I mean, you increase the risk of, you know, having too much space in there for wax moth and small hive beetle, but in your case, I think you're going to benefit from not losing that nectar flow by having something for them to do. Draw that out and put nectar in there. How many hives do you suggest I can hold on 5 acres? That's really depends on how much nectar is in your area. If you're in the middle of a lot of good resources, you can put a lot of hives. If you're out on the desert with 1 flower, 1 hive is too many. One of my 2 hives today was super aggressive, no brood, plenty of resources and swarm cells. Looked like one had open and hatch. Safe to assume queen is on a mating flight. Yeah, it does sound like that. It sounds like they're queenless. That's why they're a bit more defensive. I'd come back in a couple of weeks, see what you got. Have a queenless hive, added a frame from a stronger hive. There are queen cells, but now notice chalk brood in both. Is there a point of no return in dealing with it? Well, chalk brood is usually something that we see more in the spring when it's a little bit wetter outside. Maybe you've been getting a lot of rain or something. It's not over. Sometimes bees can clean that up and get over it. I don't know of anything you can do. You can't really apply any treatment or anything, but I would just keep trying to keep the bees healthy. I think you're doing the right thing by giving them some maybe capped brood. Some nurse bees can emerge and help them out. Yeah. I have a frame of chilled brood. Wow. Chalk brood, chilled brood. And seems like they're very strong, very slow to remove it. Should I take the frame out myself? I wonder if that's chilled brood or chalk brood you're seeing. So you can take it out yourself. If it's a whole frame, you might as well get rid of it and let the bees have it. But on the other hand, bees should clean that out pretty good. Not sure why they're not. Hi, David. Thanks for your help. Split hive in May. The split's doing great. The original hive never got a queen and now is full of worker laying eggs. Now what? Oh, laying workers. I'm sorry to hear that. Sometimes if you got a lot of hives, you can put a frame with the queen on it and some brood off onto one wall of that laying worker hive, and that pheromone from the queen and brood will clamp down the laying workers. Otherwise, it may be a lost cause. You may have to shake the bees out into other hives. I did my second hive check today and all looked great. I had brood in all stages, but a big slab of comb fell on the bottom. Should I pick it up or no? Well, I'm answering this a week after you asked that question. Jay's Beekeeping. Pick it up. Yeah, pick it up and do something with it. Maybe you've already done that. If you don't, it's going to attract a lot of things. If it's on the bottom board, it's not a good place. It can attract small hive beetle, and you just need to keep the hive as tidy as you can. I have a queenless hive, 4 boxes high, all honey. 4 boxes high, all honey. I also have a queen right nuke from a spring swarm cell. Can I just drop the nuke frames in the bottom box, button it up, and call it a good day? Yeah, you can do that. You're going to give all your brood from the nucleus into this big box of honey, essentially, and bees, hopefully. But I would say what I want you to do when you say button it up, don't button it up too long. Go back in a couple of weeks and make sure all is good. Hey, Joel, if you have a queenless hive, when is it too late to requeen in the summer? It's never too late, never too late. Put super on with the excluder, and some bees are checking it out but not building out comb in the super. Is there anything to do to encourage them? I've made videos about this. Wax the heck out of those supers, spray some sugar water on it. You can always put the super between two deeps and let them see if they can draw it out. Don't leave it in there too long. A week might be fine. But that's about all you can do. I'm a beekeeper in the Caribbean. What can I do to discourage wax moth in the hive? And secondly, what can I do to discourage lizards or frogs from the entrance of my hive? Big answer there, keep a very strong colony. That's for all of us. You want to keep pests out of your hive, you've got to be able to keep very strong colonies so that they can do it. It's better for the bees to take care of it than the beekeeper. My honey super has a lot of nectar, but they seem slow in capping it over. How long is typical in North Carolina? It depends on the humidity. If it's real humid outside, that humidity drifts into the hive and they can't cap it over because they can't get the nectar dried down good enough. So it takes longer. If it's got a lot of dry weather, then that honey super, the nectar is going to dry faster. They can cap it over faster. I was given some drawn comb. Some is pliable. I put some drawn frames, but some drawn frames are flaky, fall apart rather easily. Still, can I use this? Do I need to add extra wax? You're experiencing some different ages of the wax, and some of it is drier, maybe older, and it's just more brittle. I wouldn't try to salvage old brittle comb personally. When is the best time to move a hive to a new apiary? Always at night. Go out there after dark, screen off your entrance, strap all the boxes together, load them up in your truck at night, move them at night, plant them, open them up the next morning if you want to, or that night. But yeah, that's how I do it. Did a split with a queenless hive that had swarm cells. How long should I wait to check in on the mother hive? I did a split with a queenless hive that had swarm cells. Okay. Those swarm cells maybe are capped over, which means they're going to be emerging in 8 days when you saw them capped over. It's going to take 8 more days for the queen probably to go out on a mating flight. So let's say 3 weeks. I've sprayed sugar water on undrawn frames for a honey super. Bees haven't touched it in 2 weeks. I did remove the queen excluder. Something wrong? Or just be patient. Same thing as the previous question. It is hard sometimes to get those honey supers drawn out. Heavily wax those foundations. Sugar water helps. Put them between 2 deeps if you think that might help as well. Hey, David, I have 2 supers on a hive. Top super is full of honey. Lower super has honey and brood. Can I flip the positions so eggs hatch out and the brood super becomes a honey super? Sure. Yeah. I don't see a problem with that. Hi, David. I made a split, moving the queen into a medium box. Her brood nest is still in the medium and frames drawn. Should I add a deep above or below? My deep frames not drawn. What if they were? That's a lot of questions. So basically, you want to kind of work your hive so your honey is at the upper part of the hive and the brood is in the lower part. That's how bees do it naturally. Andy, will I be needing to make a few... I will be needing to make a few mating nucs soon. I have 3 frame boxes for this. That's a small box. What kind of frames would you start with? 1 cap brood, 1 food, 1 empty, 1 or drawn. So if you only have 3 frames and you want to make a 3-frame nucleus, I'd do 1 empty, 1 resource, 1 brood. Had 2 to requeen, bought from Dadant, 2 weeks, 0 brood. Any ideas? That's not good. Normally a queen that you buy that's mated, once she gets out of the cage, it may take her up to 5 to 7 days to start laying, but not much more than that. I've heard some people say that it can take 30 days, and that is not accurate. Because that mated queen, some people say she goes through a lot of trauma, so it takes 30 days for her to kind of calm down and start laying? No, I've shipped bees for decades, and that's not what happens. That queen gets out of that cage. If she's mated, she'll start laying sometimes that day or a few days after they start feeding her. Something's wrong with those queens. Call date in, tell them what you told me, see if they can help you out. Something's noisy back there. Oh yeah, you see that hive back there is doing the afternoon orientation class. Okay, class, I want all of you new flyers to come out and practice going 4 feet that way and then turn around and hover by the hive. I want you to get a good look at the hive so when you fly far away, you know how to come back home. That's what's going on back there. It's like a driver's ed, a flight school back there. If I use dry natural material from my yard for smoker fuel, will the bees get upset? There's a fire nearby their hive. Smoker fuel, fire near their hive. Not sure what you mean by that. It sounds like you're setting your yard on fire, but it sounds like you're actually using natural things out of your yard as smoker fuel. Mindful that you're not treating your yard with a chemical, because then you're burning chemical and you don't want to do that. But nah, I don't think the bees are going to care. We have a big burn thing, a burn pit back there, and it sometimes puts smoke around my hives. It doesn't slow them down. I'm in central Alabama. I was wondering if it's too late to add my drone green frame. Always add your drone comb frame when your bees are drawing out foundation, and that's when there's a nectar flow. Lisa, should I still be feeding my bees? Only if there's no nectar sources, and if you're trying to get frames drawn out, it helps if you feed your bees 1-to-1. Of course, don't do that if you've got a honey super on, or they'll put that in your honey super. How do you evacuate bees from supers to harvest honey? I've made many videos on that. I take a towel and I spray it with, what's it called? I think it's called Honey Bandit, I really like. And it runs the bees out of that super. It's all natural, organic spray. And then you can just lift it off. There's a lot of ways to do it. Do you ever step back from the cameras and enjoy being a normal beekeeper? Oh, I want to so badly. I'm pushed to make videos. This week I'm trying to make a lot of videos because I'm going to be out of town speaking down at the Texas Beekeepers Association. So I'm having to rush through and make a lot of videos to get those posted, scheduled to go out. The answer to your question is yes, I do. I have done that, but every time I do, I feel guilty because when I'm doing it off camera, I say to myself, oh my gosh, only if I had a camera, look what I'm looking at. I should be filming this. So I don't like to inspect my bees without a camera. Oh, that's a good question though. How do you know if you have a queenless swarm? Because you capture it, you put it in a box with drawn out frames, and you inspect it a week later, and if there's no queen, it's queenless. Hey David, can you make a winter bee kind to fit in a frame? I did that experiment and it did not go well. I did that experiment maybe 15, 20 years ago. Bees weren't happy. The cluster moves too much and can move away from that frame. It's better to have the winter bee kind candy above them so that no matter where the cluster is, there's food above them in the wintertime. How soon should you find eggs and larvae after capturing a swarm? If they have a queen, probably within a week. With hot weather coming, is it a good idea to use a screen ventilated inner covers to get more circulation? I have a screen bottom board. A lot of beekeepers do that in the hot south. I've heard of people using a moving screen on the top like that. And I've never had to do that, but I've heard people doing it. I will prop up my top cover sometimes with a quarter, 25-cent piece to let a little more flow in there. Wow. Oh, this one right behind me here is doing flight school training. It always happens around 2:30 or 3 here. That's good though. It means they're going to be a lot more foragers in the next few days. Hi, David. I did a walkaway split from Hive 1 on April the 14th. I have done weekly inspections. I was surprised to see queen cells. The hive is queen right with all stages of brood. Thoughts split didn't help. Wow, if you split them on April the 14th, that split only helps for 30 days, long enough for them to raise another queen. And as soon as they get that new queen, they'll swarm again. Hi, David. Have you ever seen a swarm be slow to build up? No. Swarms are really charged up with a lot of food in their bodies to really make wax. They're usually pretty good. I had what I thought was a failing queen. I requeened 2 weeks ago. Queen is present, still little to no brood. Should I move a frame or two of brood from a strong hive to this hive or wait? Well, if you want to raise a new queen with brood, you're going to have to kill the old queen and let them use the eggs from the new frames to raise a new queen. But maybe you're just talking about using the brood from those hives to bolster up the hive. I would go with another queen. It sounds like 2 weeks ago your queen's not doing good. She should be doing good by now. New beekeeper this year, just installed our first 5-frame nuke on Monday. The cap brood looked spotty. Bad? My plan is to check back in a week. Good plan. What else should I do? Yeah, spotty brood can be a spring thing. It's still spring. It's summer this weekend for me. But I would say wait another week, see if you can't see an improvement. If not, you've got a bad, poor laying queen. Hive seems to be dying off, but still working. Maybe a virgin in there, but is it too late to save the hive? That's a redundant question. Is it too late to save the hive? If I've got bees, 2 or 3 frames of bees, I've got the ability, since I raise queens, to raise a good queen and put a mated queen in there. If you don't, you could buy a mated queen and see if that would help. Maybe the hive's dying off due to the queen not laying good. How do you overwinter a resource nuke? I don't try to do that. I always combine them with big hives. Hello, David. Do you use a queen excluder? My mentor doesn't, and not sure what I should do. What are the benefits of using versus not using? The benefit is it keeps the queen out of your honey super, so it's easier just to harvest a big super with no brood in it. The downside is if you do use one, it can slow down how much that super gets drawn out and filled up. Using it, for me, is kind of a disadvantage. I do better not using one with honey production, and I just have to police my queen more and pick her up and put her back down. If you're not willing to police your queen once a week, make sure she's not up there, I'd use a queen excluder. How often should you change your queen out? Once a year if you can, no more than, I think no less than twice a year. Or, I'm sorry, no less than once every 2 years. That didn't sound right. Let me say all that over again. I think you should change her once a year if you can in late summer. And then I think I would not go more than 2 years with an old queen. Hi, David. How to protect the frames after summer is over? That's a long time question. I've made a ton of videos on that. Don't put them in a bag. They'll mold and mildew. Don't put them in a wet basement. You're going to keep them in a dry place away from all the bugs. Freezing them first for a week helps, and then storing them in an environment where there's low humidity and moderate temperatures with no bugs. How long should I keep object near entrance when doing a split? About a week. What we're talking about here is a split might run away from you. So I think you need to wait about a week. And then once the foragers get used to the new location, they should stay around and be fine. That's the questions left over from my live stream on June the 12th. Now I'm going live tonight. I know you're watching this at a different time, but I'm running a little bit late on getting questions answered due to my tight schedule, but I'm doing the best I can, working hard for you guys. I really am. And I just made a video I'd like for you to watch. The video that I like for you to watch is all about how to keep your hive queen right. What happens when you can't get the hive to have a queen and you're having queen issues, this video right here is really going to help you guys. I'll see you over there.